Hello everybody and welcome back to the British Pokemon League Show. I am your host Matt Starr. We are back after a period of crazy free agency. A lot of changes, a lot of team changes, a lot of different things going on. Obviously if you saw the mid-season special show Sunday just gone, you will have seen all the different changes. You would have heard from all the coaches. We got quite a few interviews in with the guys. Everyone sounds pretty optimistic and positive going into the second half of the season. But speaking of the season, let's take a quick look at the league table if you didn't catch it on Sunday going into this week. As you can see, the whole of the top half of the table is sat there on the same record. We're all sat on 4 and 3. Only divided by match win record. You know, myself, Budo Boy is sat on +3. Toadstar Belgrade, Miami Heat and Long Island Gummies all sat there on 4-3 with a +2 record. And Inglorious Surf has sat there in 5th place with a +0. Just that early season form really being the problem for them there. But further down the table, we've got Shadow Kings and Aurora Articuno both sat on the 3 and 4. And bringing up the rear, we've got Newcastle Thunderous on the 2 and 5 record. We're not gonna wait around as usual. We're gonna kick things off straight away. We're gonna get into our first game, and we've got a doozy for you. We have got Gus's Aurora Articuno versus Latvian's Miami Heat. Gus sat there in 7th place in the league. He had a bit of a sort of, a bit of a turnaround in form, winning his 2 final games before we head into that mid-season free agency. Gus electing to make no changes to his team. Got to hand it to him that GMAS Lapras team has worked for him. It's got him the 3 wins, and he obviously feels confident enough for it to do the job, so fair play to him. On the side of Latvian's Miami Heat, couple of changes to note of. The Lipard has come in for the Clefairy. We've got Fungus in there now in the place of Beware, and Machamp in place of the what was it in place of? It was swapped out for Sork. My memory fails me. And also Mudsdale has come in for the Noivern, but that is not currently on the graphic. Obviously, we're kicking things off with the same way we kicked off the start of the season with this game. If you remember rightly, Latvian was able to pull out the 2-0 victory over Gus's Aurora Articuno in that one. Whether we'll see the same again, I don't know. Obviously, Gus is coming into this one in pretty good form. Latvian obviously also winning his previous game against myself. So it is anyone's game. It could go either way. But let's get right up into it in our first game of the second half of the season, Miami Heat vs Aurora Articuno. And he's starting the same way he started game 1, week 1, Cinderace with Kangaskhan. And of course, Gus kicking things off with the Dusclops and the Lapras. Kangaskhan obviously has that scrappy ability which enables it to hit ghost types, with fighting and normal moves. Whether Gus is aware of this or not, I don't know. Maybe he's got something to counteract it this time. But we know how much that Cinderace's max damage can do to Dusclops, and if there's no Whimsy Cot in the back for Gus, that is going to mean there is no Trick Room options in the back. Cinderace obviously going with the G-Max, and there's Lapras going straight for the G-Max, not waiting around. Fake Out hits into the Dusclops, and that's the Dusclops Fake Out, and Max Darkness hits into it, and that is going to be that. The Dusclops is gone. Special defense drop on the Lapras. Max Skies are coming out from the Lapras, hitting at the Cinderace, which does set up the rain, but Cinderace has now obviously changed its type into Dark, so that doesn't really affect the Cinderace too much. The rain has been set up for the Vikavolt though with that Thunder Play, and in comes the Vikavolt. As we said, obviously no Trick Room. It doesn't look like that there's any Whimsy Cot in the back for Gus, so there's no Speed Control this time. Whether that's going to matter too much, I don't know. That Lapras can hit really hard and take a lot of hits itself. It's got such high HP that maybe it's not gonna matter all that much. But we'll have to wait and see on that one as we wait for both players to make their move. Kangaskhan, we know, obviously also has that last resort move, 140 power move. It uses all of its moves in its move pool. We can get that. Max Guard comes out from the Cinderace, changes type into normal. There's the Brick Break on the Vikavolt. I'm sure it wasn't intending to sort of really do anything, but he's at least used another one of his moves. But there's the Thunder, comes off from the Vikavolt, gets Kangaskhan down to about 5% HP and does paralyze it. The Resonance stopped by the Max Guard of the Cinderace, so that stops that from going off. So no Resonance, no Aurora Veil for that Lapras, so it's still wide open to an attack. Whether Cinderace or Kangaskhan can really do anything to it in this scenario, I'm not sure, but both of them still have that speed control over the Lapras, but Cinderace in a bit of a spot because of the rain. Can't use the fight move. The Max Knuckle comes out though, gives them both the 1.5 times attack, does a bit of chip damage to the Lapras, to the Vikavolt, sorry. Lapras does get the Risen up, but there's the last resort into the Vikavolt. The Vikavolt has gone in, and there's now a 2v4 on the side of Gus. Kangaskhan just about hanging on and Cinderace, but they're both sat there on the 1.5 times attack. Obsidian, the Tyranitar, comes in though, it gets that unnerve ability off, that means no berries can be used on the side of the of Latvians, and it's looking pretty daisy there for Latvian, you know, the 2-mon advantage, okay, yeah, both. Oh, there goes the Lapras, the high jump kick taking it out. Rockslide comes out from the Tyranitar though, and that takes both Cinderace and Kangaskhan out in one go. Tyranitar putting in the work then, is now a 1v2. I mean, Tyranitar's still not in much of a better spot. He's still going to have that speed control, but in comes Fungus and Machamp. 2 new signings on the side of Lap. That Fungus, you know, it's Amoonguss' younger brother. It still gets that spark rate. It's still quite a bulky put, and Protect comes out from the Tyranitar. I'll be honest, I think that's probably just doing negative, but there's the spark. Latvian unveiling that he has those moves and that money dynamic punch as well on the Machamp. So in comes Machamp, still just sitting there, everyone pretty much on full HP. That Aurora is still up the Tyranitar, whether that's going to matter too much. Obviously, Fine Time is out 4 times effective, and there goes the Obsidian, the Tyranitar. That is game 1 to Latvians Miami Heat. Played that really, really well. I think Gus had forgotten about the scrappy ability on Kangaskhan, and the Dusclops goes straight out of there, and we move on to the game 2. I was going to say, the sides do swap here. It had loaded in the wrong side, but in comes the same line. Oh no, it's the Whimsicott and Dusclops this time. We saw this against me, and we saw this against Matt Star's Voodoo Boys. Obviously, if you can't take out both mons, it does enable you to at least get some form of speed control up if you can't stop both mons. There's no fake out on the Whimsicott if you can't get rid of the Dusclops. There's the fake out onto the Whimsicott, no G-Max from the Cinderace. There's the taunt though onto the Dusclops, but not realising that it's mental head Dusclops. Trick Room does go up on the side of Gus, and there it is, there we go. Gus does get his Trick Room up this time. That could be really, really huge for the outcome of this game. You know, having that speed control is all so important when you're running that G-Max Lapras. There we go. Are we going to see the swapping? Is the Lapras now going to swap in and get helped out by the Whimsicott, or is he possibly going to go for the Rock Tomb to proc that self-proc, that weakness policy on the Lapras, and then it's really big trouble for Latvia. If that Lapras can get going, it's phenomenally hard to stop. Wait for both sides to make them play both thinking about what they want to do in this scenario. Obviously, Latvian now realises that he doesn't have that speed control, and in Kangaskhan and Cinderace, he's got 2 very, very fast mons to try and work this out here. In comes the Fungus though on the side of Latvian. Now this is going to work on Rock Tomb, misses in the Cinderace, so no. There's no swapping, but Moonblast comes out from the Whimsicott. Taunt comes out from the Cinderace, does taunt that Whimsicott. Obviously no mental herb on that, the mental herb only running on the Dusclops. And there you go, so the Moonblast not quite taking out the Cinderace tanking that hit, but in comes Fungus, which is going to work perfectly on the Trick Room. And maybe Lat does have a trick up his sleeve. You know, if that Machamp as well as run slowly, then maybe it works in this scenario. You know, to be able to at least take out something, you know, that dynamic punch is really, really going to hurt the Lapras. But there's the Spore from the Fungus, puts the Dusclops to sleep. Moonblast again from the Whimsicott does take out the Cinderace. Whimsicott obviously has been spec'd slower in its speed EVs. And there's 1-mon down for Latvia, and that's advantage Gus. You know, both players playing the patient, slow game here. Latvian trying to stall out that Trick Room. Without a maybe 1-turn wake up on that Dusclops is going to be nullified for at least up to 3 turns. There's the Rage Powder from the Fungus though. Poison Jab hits into the Whimsicott. Whimsicott is gone, and that is now 1 apiece down. Latvian evening up, but there's the Lapras with the 1 turn of Trick Room still to go. Dusclops still hanging around though, so there's still a chance that Trick Room could go up again. As long as Latvian can maybe, you know, prevent There's a spawn though on the Lapras. Dusclops does wake up the next time. Rock Tomb hits into the Lapras and it does proc that weakness policy, but Lapras is fast asleep, so he's not going to get attack up. There's the knockoff onto the Dusclops. Not going to quite do enough. Obviously, Dusclops has already used its mental hair this game, so it's not going to do as much. No item there for it to knock off. But it's still one apiece here. That Lapras, you know, there's every chance that there could be a one-time wake up and that Lapras can start doing the work. But the Trick Room has ended now. The Dynamic Punch hits it. The Lapras, that's not going to do very much. It does get the confusion up. There's the 1-10 wake up. G-Max Resonance hits into the Foongus. Foongus is gone from that Resonance. Trick Room does go from the Dusclops, and that is a very good spot for Gus. It is now a 2v3. In comes Kangaskhan, probably the worst mon you want in this situation. Obviously, he can get a fake out onto that Dusclops and stop it from doing any more work. Obviously, Dusclops has been known to run pain split, and you know, if it can get a pain split off, it's going to allow it to stay alive just that little bit longer. And now he has that Trick Room off. Both mons are going to be slow enough to be able to go first here. What can Latvian stall out this Trick Room again for another 4 times? I'm not too sure with that Lapras now with the weakness policy up and it's not asleep. What can he do here? Just keep him. There's the fake out on the Dusclops. That's obviously going to flinch the Dusclops. Max Geyser hits it to Machamp. Machamp is gone. It's out of there, and that sets up the rain. And Kangaskhan now has it all to do with 3 turns of Trick Room to go. He's in a 1v3 situation. I'm not sure that the Kangaskhan can really stick around too much longer. Obviously, we know it's running the Brick Break, it's running the Helping Out, it's running the Fake Out, and we know it's running the Last Resort. But he's got to be able to use all 3 of those moves first, so he gets the Last Resort. There is the Rock Tomb, which is going to slow the Kangaskhan down a little bit. But there's the Thunder from the Lapras. Kangaskhan just living that though. Brick Break hits into the Dusclops and does break that Aurora Veil though. Whether there's this, whether he can bring this back from here, but I'm not sure. You know, he's got a lot to do here to take out, you know, those 2 mons and another one. There's the Nightshade Rock Seeds and Kangaskhan's amused to. Nessie, the Lapras does hit itself, and there's the Lapras gone. There's the Last Resort. It's not over. It's a 1v2. Kangaskhan's still sticking around on half HP. That Dusclops is just hanging around on 20%, but in comes Vikavolt with 1 turn of Trick Room. Yet we know that Kangaskhan has no protector, has no way to prevent an attack going off. So long as the Vikavolt gets a Thunder off here, I think it's going to be game, set, and match here. So Kangaskhan still managed to stick around. There's the pain split on the Kangaskhan. Thunder takes it out, and that is a game apiece. Gus managing to take a game off of Latvian this time, and we go to game 3 with things looking very, very tantalising. This could go either way. That was very much a battle of the minds there. It almost ended with a game of chess by the end, you know, going on for quite a few turns. In comes Foongus and Kangaskhan though now. Foongus, obviously, we know has that spore, and obviously Gus is now aware of the Machamp and the Foongus both working in the Trick Room. So that's a really great bring for Latvian. Obviously, Latvian identifying that Gus is very much running a Trick Room team and able to bring 2 mons that very much work under Trick Room. There's the fake out onto the Dusclops as expected. Tailwind comes out though from the Whimsicott this time, not Trick Room. Spore hits into the Whimsicott, but it doesn't affect it. It's a Grass Fairy type, and Whimsicott just says no. No Spore working off this time. You can see what Latvian was trying to do. He's trying to get a sleep off to stop any speed control going up. But there's the Tailwind. Whether that's going to matter too much, I would have thought that Kangaskhan and Cinderace, if he's brought it, are still probably faster in this scenario. Obviously, it's going to matter more to the Foongus and the Machamp, but obviously there's less turns of Tailwind here, and if Latvian can stall it out and get rid of both Dusclops and Whimsicott here, he's going to be looking pretty good. Obviously, there's an opportunity Gus could potentially run a set of Trick Room. There's the Moonblast though. It's not going to do very much to the Kangaskhan. Brick Break hits into the Whimsicott, obviously aiming to try and get all those moves used out. So in comes the Cinderace. You've got to expect the Cinderace. G-Max is here to use a Max Darkness to get rid of that Dusclops. If Kangaskhan now is able to Last Resort or you know, helping hand here to ensure that, then you know, Latvian's in a very, very good spot here. Obviously, no Lapras has come in yet. The Tailwind is still up. Does Gus opt to bring the Trick Room? And obviously, Trick Room will last longer than Tailwind lasts. Tailwind's only got the 2 turns to go. There is the G-Max from the Cinderace. Max Darkness hits into the Dusclops. That is going to be Dusclops gone as super effective and a critical hit just for good measure. Drops the Spadef of the Whimsicott. Last Resort hits into the Whimsicott. And there is the Trick Room. Last Resort not quite taking out the Whimsy. And in comes the Lapras. Both Tailwind and Trick Room, but for Gus, it's not something you see very often for, you know, it to be up for both of them to be up for one side. But a very smart play there. Obviously, he's identified that Tailwind only has another turn left to go. So. And the Trick Room's got 4, so he's at least got those 3 turns of Trick Room where he's going to have that speed control. He's going to be able to go first, and that's going to be all important here. Obviously, there's now no way to self-point that weakness policy, but Whimsicott we do know has ran Helping Hand in the past, and Helping Hand Lapras is still going to do the work, is still going to do a lot of damage, so you cannot count it out. But advantage to Latvian, as we said. There is the G-Max from the Lapras. Last Resort hits into the Lapras. It's not going to do quite enough. Max Geyser hits into the does get that crit, but it's only down at 50% HP. There's the Max Knuckle into the Whimsicott. That's only going to do a couple of percent of damage. Whimsicott's still hanging on. And there's the Moonblast into the Cinderace, which does take it out because it's Fighting type, and the Cinderace is gone. There's 3 turns of Trick Room left to go. What can transpire here now? Obviously, Whimsicott just about hanging on, so both support mons for Gus are down, are pretty much down. Kangaskhan's still hanging around and now just have that attack boost. That Last Resort is going to really hit hard. It's going to hit big and it's going to hit hard. There's the Spore from the Fingers though, puts the Lapras to sleep. Last Resort hits into the Whimsicott. The Whimsicott is gone, and that is now a 3v2 for Latvian. What has Gus got in the back? You've got to expect his Vikavolt to run under the Trick Room. 2 turns of that left, as we mentioned. And, you know, all Gus can hope for here is a 1-turn wake-up and hope to bring Lapras back into the game. You know, G-Max Resonance on that Fungus, and that thing's going to be gone, and he does then have the Auroraville, which is going to help out with Kangaskhan. But can Vikavolt live a Last Resort here from the Kangaskhan, or vice versa? Can that? And there's the Pollen Puff, which does, it buffs the Kangaskhan's health. The Air Slash comes out from the Fungus, doesn't quite take it out. Max Lightning hits into the Kangaskhan, it's going to stop the sleep from going up. Last Resort takes out the Vikavolt, and that is going to be game, you'd think. It is now a 3v1. Yes, Fungus now can't Spore, but, you know, at the same time, I don't know that Lapras can do anything against attack boosted Kangaskhan here when it's running Last Resort. This is very much going to be the first game back from mid-season. Another win for Latvian, and Gus losing a game after going on a sensational 2-game winning run. Gus has played his heart out though, obviously a lot closer than last time. In comes Machamp for Fungus. Hydro Pump misses on the Kangaskhan as well. There's the Last Resort to take out the Lapras, and that is game number 3. Latvian taking the win. Sensational stuff from both players. I enjoyed watching that one very, very much. Really close stuff. I think you look at the table, we mentioned this before, you look at the table, you see where Latvian is, you see where Gus is, and you probably thought that was going to be a bit one-sided, especially since how it went last time, but Gus, you know, proving his mettle, proving that he's not just this one-trick pony, as he's maybe been mentioned before, and pushing Latvian all the way, and a really, really good game from both players. Yeah, I agree, Latvian, what a game it was. So let's move on to our game number 2. We have got Newcastle Thunderers taking on Inglorious Surfers. Obviously, last time these two played each other was week 4, and it was a 2-0 victory to Dave's Newcastle Thunderers. But since then, Aaron actually hasn't lost a game. In fact, since playing Silly and getting that first win of the season, he has only lost to Dave since then. See, Surfers are now on a 4-3 record, and that game against Aaron was actually the last time that Dave won a game. Dave now, as Newcastle Thunderers, now on a 2-5. Obviously, Dave not making too many changes to the team, just the Steelix, the Magneton, and the Zyla switching out, but some very big changes that type null everyone needs to keep an eye on and watch out for. But we know Mama Swine and Aegislash are 2 big players for Dave's team. We know how much work they can do. That Mama Swine doing really, really big things for the last couple of games. Insyn, you know, with that Intim and Fake Out, you know, is always a threat, and Dave has been bringing Rabombi quite a bit the last couple of games, so I would expect to see it here. Surfers have made a couple of changes themselves. Obviously, Terrakion has come in for that Anungus. Zoroark has swapped in for the Gastrodon, and Riolu has swapped in for the Oranguru, and finally, Doug Trio switching in for the Rotom Frost. Some pretty big changes. That Terrakion won the Soldier Justice, obviously a really, really strong Pokemon. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that Terrakion, a really strong Pokemon, obviously can run beat up with that Doug Trio, so that's very much something that Dave's going to have to keep an eye on. Zoroark, we know, runs the Illusion ability. you know, if played correctly, you can really stifle your opponent there and confuse them, and you know, they've really got to be aware of that. And as Aaron spoke to in the interview at the mid-season special, Ryolu can run that copycat max guard strat that we've seen a couple of times. So without further ado, let's get into our game 2 between Newcastle Thunderous and Inglorious Surfers. Insyn and Aegislash lead the line, and Doug Trio and Ndidi pop out for Aaron's Surfers. Obviously, Insyn getting those attack drops to Ndidi and Doug Trio. Aegislash running that air balloon, so obviously it's gonna, unless it takes a physical hit, it's gonna be immune to ground moves. Dave's got to watch out as well, because obviously that fake out will not work under psychic terrain. He won't be able to get that flinch off, so he needs to be wary of that. That Ndidi as well obviously can run the expanding force. Whether that's the best move here, you don't know, but you know, as long as they can stick around his running slash. But Doug Trio Dynamaxes. Doug Trio, it's not the one you expect to Dynamax. There's the helping hand from the Ndidi. Fake out hits into Doug Trio, which is not going to work under the Psychic Terrain, and Max Darkness hits into the Aegislash and pops that balloon. Aegislash still just hanging on. Max Darkness from the Aegislash hitting the Ndidi, which does proc that sash. Ndidi hanging on, and obviously the Spadef drops on both sides there. So here we are then. Obviously that fake out didn't quite work out, but Aegislash and Ndidi both just about hanging on. Davis Dynamax and Aegislash not quite, you know, sticking around for as long as he maybe wanted to, but you know, I would think it would at least stick around for another turn or two if he can get the max guard off. And Doug Trio as well. Now, Doug Trio is not something that you expect in the Dynamax here. So unless maybe potentially Aaron is bringing that Toraki on late game to use that beat up, or maybe he's spec Doug Trio to be the sweeper. Max Darkness hitting Aegislash again. That Max Guard's going to start them going off. Mystical Fire as well is going to get that special attack drop on the Insane. But there's the Brick Break on the Doug Trio. But what? It was Zorak the whole time. Zorak coming to the game for Aaron, and yeah, I mean, all of us in chat watching that were pretty certain it was Zorak, but Dave obviously wasn't quite sure of that Brick Raid to stop it going for. I did have a little bit of a glitch in the footage there. You didn't really miss too much, but the parting shot from the Insane swapped it out for a Bombi, and Aegislash was able to get another max guard off, so stopped it from going down. So yeah, Zorak coming to a game, and yeah, obviously he's revealed his card there. The Brick Break hitting into it from the Insane. But in comes Rabombi now. Now Zorak's not going to enjoy Rabombi. There's the ally switch. The follow man comes out. Flamethrower does take out that Aegislash though. I think Zorak was hoping to hit the Rabombi, but that ally switch works out great. Insane now comes in to drop that Zorak's attack, which isn't going to matter too much. Obviously Zorak's a pretty stout special attacker. Ndidi though still hanging around from turn 1. He's been sat on 1% HP that whole time. And has pretty much just followed me to zero. There's the Moonblast though from the Rabombi. Zorak going down. Mystical Fire hits the Rabombi. Rabombi's going to just tank that like a boss. Brick Break hits into the Ndidi, and that is now 2 mons down for Aaron and 1 down for Dave. It is now a 2v3. One thing I will, I'm going to obviously let it play out, but obviously Aaron did use his Dynamax on the Zorak there and not the Hatterene, which wasn't a legal move. So regardless of this, how this game goes, Aaron is going to forfeit this game 1, which is unfortunate to see, but you know, it happens. It's a difficult rule to sometimes remember. And you can see us mentioning that as that in the chat. Hatterene and Doug Trio now coming. Obviously, Dave. The thing with Zorak is you are revealing one of your mons if you have in the back once it does take a physical hit. And there is the Doug Trio just sort of bobbing around, dancing around. So, but it is Rabombi and Insane. Rabombi has done the work again for Dave here, obviously taking out that Zorak. It's a strong one. So we know that Hatterene has been running the Mystical Fire along with the Ndidi. There's the Energy Ball though. It was a Rindo Berry, so the Doug Trio does manage to hang on. There's the Aircraft from the Doug Trio. Hits into his Hatterene, hits into the Insane and Rabombi. There's the Darkest Lariat into Hat. Hat's not going to... is going to just about live that. There's the Trick Room that will ensure that Hatterene goes first. Obviously that Doug Trio is going to be running pretty fast, so Doug Trio is going to see no benefit of that, but Insane and Rabombi obviously much faster than Hatterene, and Hatterene's now going to probably be able to comfortably take out at least one of them. You would expect it's going to be the Rabombi just to ensure it doesn't do any more big damage for the side of Dave. So it's as we said, it's 3v2 Dave. Just hanging on both sides though, both mons in this team. There's the ally switch though. Dazzling King comes out from the hat and takes both Rabombi and Insane now. And it is now a 1v2. One turn and the game's completely flipped on its head. As I said, as we mentioned, Aaron does unfortunately forfeit this game, but there's still a chance that on merit he can maybe take the win. But in comes Lantern, one of Dave's new signings. comes in the full tier, and Duck Trio and Hat both sat on about 25-30% HP and Lantern on 100%. I don't know that Duck Trio or Hatterene have anything to take care of the Lantern, but there's the skull from the Lantern, takes out the Trio Psychic Kick into the Lantern, doing about half damage. Leftovers on the Lantern is gonna beef its HP up a little bit more just to make sure it hangs around. 2 turns of Trick Room to go. Protect comes out from the Lantern, trying to stall out that Trick Room, stops the Psychic from going off. Leftovers is gonna boost some more of that HP up for the Lantern now. And it's not looking very good for Aaron. Dazzling Gleam, it's not going to do all that much. There's 30%. Eerie Impulse, though, hits into the Hatterene Magic Bounce, pops it back, and that Volt Absorb is going to give Lantern the health boost. A great, smart turn there from Dave, just ensuring he sticks around for a little bit longer. There's the Scald on the Hat, and that is game 1 going to the Thunderous. Dave playing that very, very well, just working around that Zoroark play. And as I said, Dave was winning that one anyway. But here we go then, game number 2. Instant Dusknoir start off for Dave, and Hatterene and Didi, the dream team of Aaron's comes in again. Hatterene running that Psychic Seed, so it does give it that Speed Death boost. And Instant obviously dropping both Hat and Didi's attacks. Psychic Terrain is out, so that Instant is not going to be able to fake out this turn. So Dave's going to have something up his sleeve to deal with that. I'm going to see Indeed you won't think is going to run Follow Me here, or a Helping Hand just to ensure that Hat does max damage. Hat you would think is going to G-Max straight off the bat here just to try and get as much damage done from the get-go. But Aaron has got to try and get himself back into this game now. Obviously 1 game down. There's the G-Max from the Hatterene. Helping Hand from the Indeedee. The Darkest already hits it to the Indeedee, takes it down with Sash, and there's the G-Max Smite and the Dusknoir just hanging on there though. But both can be confused, but that Dusknoir running eject button, so obviously some eject button shenanigans there from the side of Dave was planned. So Dusknoir does swap out, and in comes Aegislash with the balloon. That's not going to be good news for the Hatterene. Hatterene is not going to enjoy taking a steel move from that Aegislash, but he does have the confusion on the Instant, and if he's able to get another smite off, that is going to get the confusion on the Aegislash as well. You've got to think Indeedee does the Follow Me here, but the Helping Hand comes out from the Indeedee again. Stands straight into the Aegislash. Aegislash hits it, the Hatterene takes it down to 50% HP. The defense rises with the Instant. There's the Parting Shot under the Hatterene. That's going to Magic Bounce back, but that's going to mean Hatterene goes out. The Parting Shot effect hitting you is... Sorry, the Parting Shot effect hits the Hatterene and not the Instant. The Instant gets the attack and special attack drop, but Hatterene is the one to bounce out, and the Hatterene's G-Max is now wasted. Just getting the 1 turn of the G-Max, and now Aaron has no G-Max. What a turn from Dave. What a smart thing to do. Follow Me comes out from the Indeedee. Max Steel Spike takes that out. Parting Shot you think is going to come from the Instant. Yep, there it is to drop the Scrafty's attack and special attack. Instant's now going to swap out to bring in the Ribombi. Close combat from the Scrafty, that's going to do nothing, and it's going to drop its own defense and special defense. And it is now a 4v3. And this is not looking very good for Aaron. Obviously, it has no D-Max or G-Max. Aegislash still has another turn or 2 of the Dynamax. And obviously, it's pretty likely that is not actually the Hatterene. That is going to be the Zoroark that we saw earlier. Obviously, Hatterene went out on 50% HP. Maybe not the smartest play there from Aaron to reveal that, as Dave's going to know straight away to hit that with a Fairy move. There's the Moonblast into the Hat, which was Zoroark the whole time. There's Zoroark goes down, Max Steel's by hitting the Hat, and that is now a 1v4. This is going to be game number 2. Aegislash's Dynamax does end, and that is going to be it. I don't think Scrafty's going to be able to do anything here. Gets the attack drop on both ones, but Ribombi's going to be faster and does have that Moonblast. So that is going to be game number 2, and the win for New York Thunderous. Kingstreet comes out from Aegislash. There's the Moonblast. Scrafty goes down, and that is game. Dave picking up his first win since he beat Aaron in week 4 of the league. A really huge win for Dave. I know Dave said before the game he really needed that win, but Dave played that absolutely brilliantly. I will say that Parting Shot play still has me shooketh. I did not know that that's how it worked, and now I do, and I feel very blessed that I know how it works now. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Great stuff from Dave. Really great win, and obviously good games to Aaron as well. Tried something different with the Zoroark and didn't quite work out, but you know, that's the way it goes. So here we go then with game number 3. We have got the Long Island Gummies taking on Toadstar Belgrade. Another week 1 repeat. Obviously last time Silly able to pick up the 2-0 over Wheels Toadstar Belgrade, but as you'll notice, Wheels Toadstar Belgrade looking very different to last time we saw it. If you missed the mid-season show, you'll know that Wheel has made quite a lot of changes to that team. Only Weezing sticking around. We are going now with a hard rain team, and just to try and change his fortunes around. See, both teams sat on the 4-3 record, but obviously he's got his Politoed, he's got his man. That G-Max Snorlax there as well. Obviously we know what that can do with the Custap Berry and G-Max Replenish. Ludicolo, Kingdra, Bisharp, Torracat, you know, running with an Eviolite can be just as good as an Insane. And Raichu is going to work really great under the rain. It's going to obviously, while it's still on the field, it's going to stop any electric types taking out the Watermons. And we know how good Kingdra and Ludicolo are with Swift Swim with Politoed setting the rain. So this could be a really difficult game for Silly. Silly obviously only making the 2 changes. The Durant and the Comfey coming in for the Urshifu Dark and the Alchemy. Comfey, a really strong support one. Obviously he has a high defense stat. And Durant, pretty much, as Silly told me, Durant was just... He was getting rolled by fairy types a lot in the first half of the season, and Durant's going to just sort of help to put a stop of that. Obviously, keeping hold of that Water Urshifu, Dracozolt, which is, you know, got the most kills on his team, is such a strong one. Pincurchin and Weavile, we've seen a couple of times as well do a lot of work, and of course the fabled Fletchling, we've seen a couple of times, you know, with those Gale Wings to get the Tailwind up. It just does so much work for him. But without further ado, let's get into our game number 3, Toadstar Belgrade versus Long Island Goomies. And leading out from the charge for Silly, then for we are Politoed and Kingdra. Politoed obviously going to get up that rain, and Kingdra with a Swift Swim is going to get that speed boost. But there is the Fletchling and the Dracozolt on the side of Silly. Fletchling with obviously with its Gale Wings. If Silly has, if Weir, I keep calling him Silly. If Weir has no way to fake out that Fletchling in this first turn, which he's not going to with Politoed and Kingdra, that Fletchling is going to get the speed boost off onto the Dracozolt. In comes Raichu though, obviously expecting an electric move from Dracozolt, but there's Dracozolt Dynamaxing and Kingdra Dynamaxing. Tailwind comes out, Max Wyrmwind comes out on the Dracozolt, and that is the Kingdra gone. In the first turn, Kingdra goes down. Raichu getting the attack drop there. And that's not a great start for Weo there, obviously not able to stop the Tailwind going off. Dracozolt getting the speed boost and getting all the advantage over that. Dracozolt was such a high attack stat, it's very difficult to stop it. In comes the Bisharp. Obviously Bisharp does run that Defiant, so any Dynamax move that Silly uses that has a stat drop is going to obviously activate that Defiant on the Bisharp, so obviously late game that could turn into a real monster here. Silly obviously aware that he can't use any electric moves while Raichu is still kicking around in the field. You've got to think that Raichu's running a Sash as well, so it's not really easy to get rid of. There's the Max Wyrmwind into the Raichu. Gets the attack drop on the Raichu, but there's the Defiant activation of Bisharp. Will-O-Wisp does miss from the Fletchling. Thunder hits from the Raichu on the Fletchling. Fletchling just goes straight down, Iron Heads to the Dracozolt. That's not going to do a whole lot of damage. It's obviously a not very effective move. Bisharp, as we said though, has got that 1.5 times attack, and is a Steel Dartmon, which is Comfey is not going to enjoy. But Comfey now coming in just as the support mon, if you can with Triage, if you can get any kind of healing move off, or floral healing or anything of the kind, that's going to help keep Dracozolt around a little while longer. Obviously the Triage gives the healing moves priority on the Comfey. Protect comes out from the Raichu though, and there's the Draining Kiss which stops it going off, and Max Lightning is going to hit the Raichu. Obviously I think Silly thought the Draining Kiss would take the Raichu out and he'd be able to take out the Bisharp, but there's the Iron hit from the Comfey. Comfey goes down, and it is now a 3v2 on the side of Rio. Rio with the advantage after losing Kingdra first time, but in comes Goodra. So 2 Dragon Mons on the side of Silly against the Bisharp and the Raichu. As we said, Dracozolt knows it can't use any electric moves until that Raichu is gone, until it is out of there. That Goodra potentially running either the Sap Sipper ability or one of his other abilities. I wouldn't have thought Sap Sipper, considering there's not really any grass types bar in the Ludicolo here, but you never know. We saw it come out against Dave in the final week of the form mid-season against Newcastle Thunderous, so who knows what Silly's got plenty of Silly's teams do tend to be a little bit out there, but there's the Protect from the Bisharp. Aerial Assist at the Raichu, that's the Raichu gone, and Aqua Tail into the Bisharp. The idea is right under the rain. In comes Politoed now, and it is now a 2v2. Now we know that Politoed is potentially running Parasong, so if he thinks he's able to live it out and stall them out, then maybe Parasong is the right way to go here. But obviously Dracozolt and Goodra are both going to hit hard. Helping Hand comes in from the Politoed. Bulkbeak does miss on the Politoed, and there's Power Whip to the Bisharp. Iron hits it to the Dracozolt. That's going to take it down about 25% of HP. And this is a very good spot for Rio in this first game. And after losing the Kingdra so early, you probably started to worry, but he's still sticking around. There's Protect from the Politoed. Bulkbeak does hit this time though, and the Bisharp goes down. Aqua Tail on the Politoed is not going to work out after that Protect, and it is now 1v2 with the Dracozolt and Goodra. Boltbeak does hit this time. The Whack-and-Bury is going to just about keep Politoed alive, but there's the power whip on the Politoed, and that is game number 1 to Silly. A little bit messy towards the end there, but he gets the job done as we move into game 2. Raichu this time leading the line from Wio and Kingdra coming in. See, Raichu has run that fake out and he's identified that, so destroys up the Fletchling, getting Tailwind, Fletchling, and Durant comes out from the side of Silly. Silly obviously aiming to get that Tailwind up again. Durant, such a strong Pokemon. It Dynamaxes though, and there's the fake out from the Raichu, stops that Fletchling, getting Tailwind up. Max Flutter by hitting the Kingdra, that's going to do big damage, and drops a special attack of the Kingdra and the Raichu. Max Geyser hitting the Durant and sets up his own range. Durant is also going to take a big hit from that, and that Kingdra now has the Swift Swim, so it is going to be going faster, and Fletchling, of course, can get that Tailwind up now. First turn, he's obviously either got to chance it and letting it go a little bit later, or maybe try something else with the Fletchling. Obviously no Trick Room on Silly's side this time, no Machana, so he's pretty much just going for all-out speed here. He's got to try and stop that Swift Swim. He's got to have somewhere to let go. The weather in comes Drixel, let Max Airstream, takes out the Durant, and that's a speed boost to both Raichu and Kingdra. Drixel, as I said, comes in. Thunder hitting the Drixel. It's not going to do very much against the Drixel, but you know, he maybe wasn't expecting the Drixel to swap in there. He's trying to take the Fletchling out, so it is advantage to Wio. In comes the Comfey to assist with the Drixel. Obviously, Comfey, we do know, can run Ally Switch, which is going to get priority. Obviously, you would think Wio's going to be trying to take out that Drake as up before I'm getting going. There's the Draining Kiss, does take out the Kingdra. Kingdra down the Draining Kiss, Thunder comes in for the Raichu. Comfey able to comfortably live that, and there's the Outrage, which takes Raichu down to its sash. And, you know, Raichu just about hanging on, but it is now a 3v2. Advantage still to Wio. Raichu, as we said, is down to its sash. In comes Politoed. The rain is obviously already up, but that's not going to matter. Politoed comes in. Raichu, obviously, while still on the field, is going to stop anything like that. Draining Kiss comes out from the Comfey. Outrage is also going to be stopped from the Protect. Perish Song comes out from the side of Wio. And I'm sorry, it's still a 3v3. We got that mixed up actually on watching it. So Silly obviously still can get a swap out to stop that person going up, but Bisharp swaps in for the Raichu. Politoed protects. There's the Draining Kiss from the Comfey onto the Bisharp. That's not going to matter too much. Boltbeak stopped by that Protect, and that is now 2 turns of the Perish Song now. And the Comfey and Drake as well. The clock is ticking as we get through these turns, and Silly needs to either try and get a swap out here if he realizes I do something. But Raichu swaps in for the Politoed, so no Perish Song affection on the side of Wio. Lightning Rod's going to stop that Boltbeak from going off. Iron Head hits the Comfey, the Bisharp not quite taking out, but both ones are going to perish next turn. So either way, if Silly gets a swap out, one of them is at least going to go down to that Perish Song, and that's going to be great news for Wio. Raichu, as we said, still hanging on to that 1% HP. We know that obviously if it gets hit by anything, it's going to go down, but at least Drake is all handled. The Fletchling comes in, there's the fake out from the Raichu, flinches the Comfey, Iron Head hits in the Fletchling. Fletchling's not going to quite go down to that, but obviously there, the Comfey goes down to the Perish Song. It now is a 3v2. Right, as we said, Raichu on the 1%, so technically it's a 2v2 if you don't count the Raichu just hanging on there, but Bisharp in a good spot. Raichu protecting. Aerial Ace not going to take it out, just hanging on. Tailwind does now come out. There's the Iron Head on the Dracozolt. Not going to do too much damage from the Bisharp there, obviously no attack buff like we saw in that game 1. But Fletchling does get that Tailwind upside. It's going to be speed control, you know. If they're able to take out the Raichu, then Boltbeak is going to really start doing well. Obviously, a little bit like Vicious Rend. The Boltbeak gets double damage to his first area. Still take Raichu out. There's the Will-O-Wisp from the Fletchling of the Bisharp. Lash out, takes Dracozolt down to about 5% HP. And now it is a 2v2. In comes Politoed to get the rain up. Obviously, no Swift from users, but he's in a very good spot. Both Dracozolt Fletchling quite low on HP. We know Politoed does have that Whack-and-Bury, so does it live a Boltbeak? Boltbeak does miss though, that could be really huge. Skulls hits in the Dracozolt. Dracozolt not going to quite go down, but the Lash out from the Bisharp takes Dracozolt out, and it's now Fletchling versus the world. Fletchling on 20% HP, you've got to think it's not going to be able to do what it needs to do here. This is going to be tying us up at game 1 apiece in game 2. Dual Wing Beat trying to do something on the Bisharp, it's going to do nothing at all. There's the Brick Break on the Fletchling. Fletchling still just hanging on, but there's the Skull to get the damage done. And we move into another game number 3. Tulsa Belgrade 1, Long Island Gummies 1. We move into the deciding game. In comes Lady Carlo and Raichu, Fletchling and Dracozolt. This time, obviously, Silly knows he's got to get that speed control up. And while Raichu's on the field with that fake out pressure, he knows it's not going to be possible. Protect comes out from the Dracozolt and Protect comes out from the Fletchling. That's a great idea there, obviously. Keeps Fletchling on full HP. It means the next turn, now that fake out's gone, that the Tailwind can go up. Which is, as we said, is great news for Silly. He needs that speed control when Swift Swing is, such a big possibility from the Ludicolo and the Kingdra. In comes Polydor to get the rain, and that Swift Swing is going to activate on Ludicolo! Ludicolo goes Dynamax, Dracozolt goes Dynamax, Tailwind does come out from the Fletchling, there's a max airstream into the Ludicolo, takes it down to about 40% HP, gets the speed move on the Dracozolt. Max Hailstorm not going to quite do enough for Dracozolt, but does end the rain there on the side of Rio. So that speed boost on Ludicolo is now gone. Dracozolt, just as we said, is hanging on, and it's also activated its weakness policy, so that Dracozolt could really just run the house at this point if Weo doesn't have an answer for it. In comes Comfey to support it. The Max Guard comes out from Ludicolo. Max Airstream is going to get protected by that Scald. Hits into the Zolt. That's not going to really do enough. And we move on another turn. Tailwind now just with 2 turns left. We are potentially trying to stall out that Tailwind just so you can reset the weather at a later time and bring in potentially Kingdra to clean up the afters. But that's a good start for Silly getting that weakness policy up. And as I said, he's got the max airstream, so regardless of whether Tailwind up, he does have that speed boost on Dracozolt. As long as Bolt Beat doesn't miss, you don't think it's going to be doing good damage to Politoed, even with the Whack and Berry, that attack boost on Dracozolt. Not going to manage it. In comes Raichu. The Max Guy comes out of the Ludicolo, you've got to try it. Flora Heal comes out, heals Dracozolt above 50% HP. There's the Max Airstream of the Ludicolo. Ludicolo is gone, and that is advantage Silly. Dracozolt hanging around thanks to that Floral Heal from the Comfey. Comfey doing what it does best as the healer of the team. That triage ability is really hard to stop. In comes Kingdra. There's still a turn and Tailwind. There's still speed control on Dracozolt with that 2-turn speed, and there's still Hail up. You've got to think that Weo's going to try and get Politoed in now to reset that rain, but with that speed boost on Dracozolt, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Fake Out comes in the Comfey though, and Outrage hits into Kingdra, but Kingdra does protect through that. Raichu obviously has had its sash broken by the Hail, so if Raichu takes a hit here, it's not going to be able to stick around as he maybe wanted it to. But it's not over. The Tailwind has now ended. If Kingdra can maybe stick around. And there's the rain. Is Kingdra still going to go first? Ally Switches comes first. Outrage takes out the Politoed. Draco Meat is going to hit the Comfey, but that's not going to be very effective. It's not affecting it at all. It's immune to that, obviously. And there it is. Kingdra not able to get the damage done. It is now a 2v4. Kingdra in a world of trouble if they're not able to take out that Dracozolt, and I'm not too sure what Raichu can really do to it here to be able to get that damage in. He's got to make sure he goes first. Draining Kiss hits into the Kingdra. He's going to get Comfey back to 100% HP. Fake Out hits the Comfey, because Comfey is faster, he goes before the Fake Out. Outrage takes out the Raichu. Draco Meteor does hit in the Dracozolt though, obviously not hitting the Kingdra. Kingdra gets that special attack drop, but that takes the Dracozolt out. Kingdra at least getting a kill at the end there. In comes Fletchling now. Comfey and Fletchling versus Kingdra. Obviously we've seen that Draining Kiss is doing big damage. Draining Kiss takes the Kingdra down to 7% HP. Muddy Water does miss the Fletchling, but does hit the Comfey, but the Life Orb damage does take it out. Silly takes game number 3, and that is the first win on the board of this half of the season for Silly. It ending the same way as their first encounter, obviously this time with a 2-1 instead of a 2-0, but Weo was able to play that really well game 2, able to stop that speed control going out. But props to Silly as well for identifying that, as long as he double protected and kept Fletchling at full HP, he was able to get that Tailwind off. And once he started Max Eye streaming with the Dracozolt, it was going to be very, very difficult to stop. As I said, that is the first win for Silly. Silly has obviously beat Dave the week before. Weo's lost streak. Some have called game 2 text me. Weo's lost streak moves up to a 2-game lost streak, but I'm sure he will bounce back. Weo's a solid player. Both players are solid players. That was everything you'd want from a top of the table clash. And yes, game 2 was textbook. But we'll move on. Let's move on to our final game of the week. It is my Boo Boo Boys taking on Dogsy's Shadow Kings. Obviously, like Weo, if you saw the mid-season show, my team's has undergone quite a big change. only the Gmax Center Scourge sticking around. We now have Dracovish, Crocodile, Porygon 2, Hippowdon, Sableye, Fletchinder, Gliscopod, Jolteon, Pinsir, and Mawile leading the charge. And I'm really hoping these I'm really hoping these mons can lead me to glory. I really like Dracovish and Gliscopod. Obviously, we saw Gliscopod do really great work for Wio in the first half of the season, and that was my reason for that pickup. And Mawile has done really big work in past VGC seasons, so that is my dark horse, I'd like to say. But yeah, obviously I can't call what I'm going to do because it's very different to last time. Obviously, I'm on a 2-game loss streak, hoping to change that here. Well, let's have a look at Dogsy's team. Dogsy's team has also undergone a bit of a change. That Gmax Butterfree has been swapped out for Gmax Venusaur. You know, any of the starter mons, Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard, all have really strong Gmax moves. Venusaur, no exception with that Gmax Vine Lash, is going to do that chip damage each turn. Dogsy keeping around Excadrill, which is its highest kills for the first half of the season. Such a scary mon, is such a powerful mon with Life Orb, or if you're in Weakness Policy, it's going to do big work. Obviously, he has swapped out the Polysword for the Dragapult coming over from Toadstool Belgrade. Polysword going the other way. Cobalion has been picked up for Shadow Kings as well, alongside Ditto, Krokorok, and Vulpix. Vulpix, for that drought ability, you've got to think is going to run alongside the Venusaur here. Just so Venusaur gets that Chlorophyll ability and is able to get the Solar Beam up if it so desires. But without further ado, I'll stop whittering on. Let's move on to our final game as Bully Boys take on the Shadow Kings. I chose to lead out the Dracovish and the Porygon 2, and in comes Krokorok and Venusaur. Krokorok getting that Intim off, not going to affect Pingu too much, obviously getting the attack boost from its download. But Dracovish losing its attack boost could be quite big. You know, if Dogsy's able to stall out that Dracovish and stop it from doing work, you know, depending on what ability it's running, that Dracovish could be in a lot of trouble right now. If it's running Strong Jaw, then maybe it's not going to make too much difference. But, you know, you can never underestimate, and instead, now he's got that attack drop, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for the Vish here. In comes Vulpix though to get that Sun up. That Venusaur now is going to feel all the effects of Chlorophyll. It's going to go first. Pingu too though. The Porygon 2 Dynamax as Max Wurmwind hits into the Dracovish. Gets another attack drop down. But in the Vicious Rend takes out the Vulpix. That critical hit in the Vulpix takes it out. Max Hailstorm from the Porygon 2 and the Venusaur does reset the weather. But Venusaur's Weakness Policy is activated. That's not something we've seen very often on the Venusaur. So you don't see Weakness Policy on the Venusaur very often at all. Porygon 2 Dynamax, and I don't know if Dogsy was expecting that, but in comes Krokorok to get another Intim off that Dracovish now 0.4 times attack. You know, if he's able to completely wall it, it's in a lot of trouble. You know, it's down below 50% HP, so you've got to think another Max Wurmwind from the Venusaur is going to take it out, or potentially a G-Max Vine Lash. It's not going to live another hit either way. Brick Breaks hits into the Porygon 2, it's not going to do enough. Vicious Rend hits into the Krokorok. Krokorok goes down, that's 2 mons down already inside Dogsy. Max Wurmwind taking out the Dracovish though from the Venusaur. Max Hailstorm hitting at the Venusaur, taking it down to 4% HP after the hail damage. That Venusaur not likely to hang around too much longer, and is now a 3v2 advantage for Matt's Bully Boys. I don't know that Dogsy was expecting the P2 to Dynamax, as we've mentioned there. So in comes Hippowdon to set the Sandstorm up now. Ditto comes in from the side of Dogsy though and copies that Porygon 2. It's going to get that 0.5 times attack, but it's a special attacking Porygon 2, so that's not going to make too much odds. Hippowdon though comes in, as we said, to set aside that Hippowdon is such a strong and bulky Pokemon. If it's able to hang around and live an attack from a Venusaur, then you've got to think it's going to do a lot of late game damage. And yeah, Porygon 2 really putting in the work so far. Venusaur just about hanging on here. It's going to die at chip damage. Ice Beam hits into the Hippowdon though, gets a crit. Hippowdon going down below 50% HP. Max Quake comes out from the Venusaur. And there's the Max Hailstorm though to take out the Venusaur. It is now a 1v3. But high horsepower hits into that, into the Ditto with a Porygon 2. Porygon 2's Dynamax now does end. As we said, the hair is up. That's going to be doing that chip damage to all 3 mons on the field. Obviously, we know P2 is running Recover here, so that means that Ditto has copied all the moves on my side. So we know that Ditto has the opportunity to recover if it can recover spam and stick around. Ice Beam though hits into Hippowdon though. My Porygon 2 gets a recover, gets it back up to 100% HP. Hippowdon goes down, and in the back is Gliscopod, and Gliscopod, we're running close combat here. You would think it's going to be able to clean up the mess here whether or not Ditto recovers, which it does, takes a bit off back at 95% HP. Ice Beam does a bit of chip damage. There's the close combat to take out the Ditto. Ditto obviously not running that Eviolite like our P2 is, and that is game number 1 to Bulu Boys. A great start there. And in comes the Center Scorch and the Dracovish pairing. Galarian, Weezing, and Slurpuff on the side of Shadow Kings, though that's not something we've seen. We've not seen Galarian Weezing at all, really, from the side of Shadow Kings. Slurpuff obviously getting that embed and the Misty Seed off. So no, what's the word? The ability that Weezing has that stops abilities going off. We've completely brain farted there. The Misty Terrain instead, though, from Weezing, as we said, gives the Slurpuff the death boost. Obviously, Embed is going to make go first. Dazzling Gleam comes out from the Slurpuff. Slurpuff just about not taking out the Dracovish. Dracovish just hanging on 3%. The Psychic Fan's hitting it, the Weezing takes it down by half, and the G-Max said Fairnot takes out the Galarian Weezing. Yes, neutralizing gas is what I meant. I knew it was neutralizing something, but my brain just it couldn't figure out what words were. So Dracovish just hanging on through that Dazzling Gleam there. That was really close, but advantage to Matt now. The Galarian Weezing is gone. In comes Crocodile to get that attack drop, but Center Scorch is not going to feel any effects of that because of White Smoke. That drop does hit the Dracovish, neutralizing Brain Cells exactly. I don't know how much Crocorock's going to be able to do here. Obviously, the second Evo form for Crocodile. But Dracovish is Scarfed, so Dracovish obviously can only Psychic Fangs here. I don't think it's going to really be able to do anything to either Mons here, even with the even with moving fast and with the Strong Jaw ability, and that attack drop is really not going to help things. So it leaves it all up to Center Scorch. You would think that Matt's going to swap out the Dracovish here maybe, but what can Crocorock do to try and get some damage off? You've got to think that one of the two has got to have some sort of water move, a flying move to take out Center Scorch, and we know both probably haven't got a flying move. But in comes the Porygon 2. Slurpuff does Dynamax. Once Geyser hits into the Center Scorch, is not going to quite do enough, but gets the rain off. Thunderfang does miss from the Crocorock. There's a Max Overgrowth from the Center Scorch, taking out the Crocorock. And that is 4v2 on the side of Matt now. In comes Ditto, though. 3 support mons on the side of Dogsy. Ditto does get that 2 times attack, but as we said, it is a special attacking Porygon 2, so that's not going to really make too much odds. I'm sure Dogsy will be trying to hope that with that Porygon 2 copy with the imposter ability, he's able to keep it around a little while and do some late game damage with Ice Beam and or Psychic. The Center Scorch, it knows that the Slurpuff has the rain. It has the rain boosted water move. Max Guard comes out the Center Scorch. Max Guard hits into the P2, so he didn't even aim for the Center Scorch, trying to take out the P2 best he could. As the Trick Room comes out from the side of P2, that's going to enable Center Scorch to have that speed control and is going to make it go fast. The Slurpuff is going to move last. Does have another turn of Dynamax though, that Slurpuff. So Matt in a very good slot here. Recover, takes P2 back up to full HP. Leech Life is going to give Center Scorch a little bit more damage. It's not going to matter because Max Geyser is going to take out the Center Scorch. That is 1 mon down at least for Dogsy. Is now a 3v2. Slurpuff's Dynamax does end. That Trick Room is gone though. The opposing P2 are electing to use the Trick Room to get it down. And in comes Hippowdon, gets the Sandstream up, stops that rain from going up. There's no rain boosted water move now for the side of Slurpuff. Obviously, we know that the Ditto is running Ice Beam, which is bad news for Hippowdon. But if Matt's able to take it out here, then I don't think that he's going to have too many problems with the Slurpuff in the late game. What can Matt do here to close out the game? Or is there life in Dogsy here? Can Dogsy maybe bring it back and try and even the game up here and get himself a win on the board? So both coaches choosing wisely what they're going to do. Recover comes out from the Ditto. Recover comes out, gets the opposing P2 back at the full HP. Surf hits into both Monsters, not going to do very much on the sand. High horsepower into the Slurpuff, Ice Beam into the P2, and that's both Slurpuff and the Ditto down below 50% HP. The Grassy Terrain giving health buffs to all 4 mons as well, so that's a little bit more HP for Hippowdon to hang on to. And this is looking very, 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 very dangerous for Dogsy. What can Slurpuff do in this situation? He knows Surf isn't going to do a lot. His Dazzling Gleam maybe going to have the ability to do enough here, who knows, but You know, that's the death boost is not going to make all the odds when it's a physical team. The Dazzling Gleam does come out from the sled buff. The Ditto does give itself the health boost. The Ice Beam takes out the sled buff high horsepower into the Ditto, and that is going to be a 1v3. Hippodon doing the work along with P2. And this is going to be, I think, Ice Beam hits into the Ditto, and there's the Ice Beam at the Hippodon. Hippodon does hang around, but there's the high horsepower, getting the job done. And that is game number 2, and that is another win for the Bulu Boys. Bulu Boys back on the board with a win after that 2-game loss record against Tostal Belgrade and Latvian Heat. Sorry, Latvians Miami Heat. So that is all of our games, and the table is looking very, very different to what it did now. Great games, as I said to Dogsy. It's very hard to predict what he was going to do with some of the new mons he brought on board, but able to stifle that Venusaur with the Porygon 2. Porygon 2 really doing the work and my MVP there. So let's take a quick look at the league table. Obviously, there's last week's league table, and here is the league table as we go into week number 9. Bulu Boys hanging on for a 5th consecutive week of the top spot. They're on a 5-3 record now. Miami Heat and Long Island Goobies following up in 2nd and 3rd on the same record, but on a less match win, both on +3. Wheels towards Talbot Grade, obviously losing out to Cities Long Island Goomies, does drop them down to a 4-4 record, but Surfers losing out to Newcastle Thunderers means that the Surfers don't break into that top 4, and both are now sat on a 4-4 record. As you can see though, at the bottom, it's all changes. Dave's Newcastle Thunderers get off the bottom of the table, move to 3 and 5, along with Aurora Articuno and Shadow Kings all on the same record, but Dave, with that 2-0 win, does mean he has the match record difference to bump up to 6th place. So really great stuff there from Dave, getting that all-important win, and he'll be hoping to carry that on as the weeks go by. But let's take a little quick look at what games we've got for you next week in week number 9. So I'll read them off to you. We have got the Bulu Boys taking on Inglorious Surfers, Tostal Belgrade taking on Miami Heat, and that's bound to be an absolute doozy of a game as it was last time. Newcastle Thunderers taking on Silly's Long Island Gummies, and Shadow Kings taking on Aurora Articuno. So another bottom of the table clash, and that does mean that someone is going to go to 4 and 5, someone is going to get the unwanted 3 and 6 record, and that's going to be very, very difficult to come back from. But we've still got plenty of Pokemon to play, as we always say, like a broken record. There's plenty of Pokemon still to go, but there's less and less as we go along now. The weeks, we've only got 6 weeks left of the main season before we move into the playoffs, so still all to play for. And yeah, the league is now a sort of symmetrical split. We've got 3 teams on 5 and 3, two teams sat on 4 and 4, and 3 teams sat on 3 and 5. So it's still very hard to call as we move on into week 9. But there are going to be some exciting games next week. That is going to do it from me. My voice, my throat is completely shot. That is going to do it for me from this week. I hope you've all really, really enjoyed the show. I certainly enjoyed commentating over it. As I said previously, week 9 show will be back to normal. We'll be running that at Sunday at 1 PM. That'll be running for about an hour, about the usual time, and then on a personal level, straight afterwards we'll be doing a Formula 1 Bahrain GP watch along. It's the first race of the season, so you can certainly keep an eye out for that from myself. But that is going to do it for me today. I will look forward to seeing you all on Sunday for the week 9 games. I have been Matt Starr. I will see you all then. Mwah.